Okay, look guys, we need to talk because there's something I need to get off my chest right now. The last couple of weeks, a lot of YouTubers have been posting these videos about how they got into FPV, how they got into flying cinematic FPV drones. These videos typically feature three main parts. 25% of the video is about the setup. Why am I doing this? Who inspired me? 50% or more of this video is the struggles of building an FPV drone. Truth be told, that is quite the adventure, especially if you have never done something like it. The rest of the video is about them learning to fly and of course their conclusion. Usually this is typically a mountain dive or cinematic shot that is not possible with your average buy-off-the-shelf drone like a DJI Mavic. There are two things worth noting here. One, in reality it might actually take you a couple of days to build your first FPV drone, but by the time you can fly it in a way that you can pull off those crazy next level shots, it takes weeks and in some cases months of practice. Two, they talk about building and eventually flying the drone, but truth be told, one does not simply get into FPV. If you're serious about getting into FPV, there is just so much more that you'll have to deal with. Wait, what do you mean? Well, let's start at the beginning. If you want to buy a DJI Mavic drone, you go to the store, you buy one, you go home. Okay, you could order one of Amazon too, but you get the point. And then what? You charge the batteries until the let's go green and you're good to go. You'll hit the takeoff button and you're golden. Well, if you want an FPV drone, things are just a little bit different. Even if you were to just buy a ready-to-fly kit, that is a complete set of goggles, remote controller, drone, LiPo, like everything, all built ready to fly immediately. But where do you even buy a ready-to-fly kit? You can't just buy one in your typical store. They have never heard of it. These things are mostly available on specialized sites online, but there's just so much choice. Where do you buy one? What is a bargain and what is just a plain bad deal? Okay, so let's say you found one online. Now what? Can we just fly it? No, of course not. You first have to set up the drone and the remote. Wait, what do I need to set up? Oh, I don't know. A failsafe, your mode switches, perhaps your rates. Rates? What are those? Yeah, you clearly have never heard of Betaflight before, have you? You see how just getting a ready-to-fly drone in the air is already a difficult task? Yeah, but Ronnie, are you just not making things more complicated than they really are just for the sake of this video? Well, not really. And we haven't even talked about like charging the LiPos. And then you're still not airborne. Okay. Clearly there's more to it than meets the eye. But how much more is there possibly that one needs to know before being an actual FPV pilot? Well, so much! First of all, you need to understand the aviation laws in your country and your neighborhood. In some countries, you're not even allowed to fly a drone at all unless you are a certified pilot. At the least, you'll have to be able to read those air traffic maps and know about the different airspace terms like CTR, CTA, and why you shouldn't fly in the TMA. There are in fact specialized low altitude airspace maps. Wow, that's a mouthful. And there are even apps out there to help you understand the airspace above you. Yeah, all really boring, I know. Now go learn that stuff because it's really important. We don't need another rogue drone shutting down airports. Quick disclaimer here. The whole aviation laws thing, not exclusive to FPV. It just seems that FPV drone pilots seem to be more aware of this stuff. Probably because it's so easy getting your hands on a Mavic drone, it's easy to overlook this. Anyway, once you're allowed to fly, you need to know how to fly. Because flying an FPV drone, even in stable, level or horizon modes, is very different than flying a Mavic drone. A Mavic drone has GPS, radars, obstacle detections and all other kinds of black magic that keep your drone in a stable position. An FPV drone has none of that. It's a very low tech and mechanical machine that has just enough tech on board to barely make it fly. Look, once you really get into the weeds of FPV flying, you'll learn about this thing called acro flying. That's a completely different animal that requires just so much practice. But once you can fly acro, you can pull off pretty much any move you like. But of course, you'll eventually crash your drone and so you'll have to be able to troubleshoot and repair it. And then, at some point, you'll have to start building a new one. You'll have to learn about the parts that make a drone fly, about Joule's law, You'll have to know about how to read schematics, understand how to solder, and put said pieces together so they stay attached during the insane amount of vibrations and crashes that you will eventually subject them to. Soft mounting? Is that a thing? And what the hell is a flux? You will have to learn about the pit loop and how to use it to tune your flight controller so the drone flies in a predictable way without blowing up motors. Yeah, that happens. Oh, and don't forget about filtering and dynamic notches. Oh yeah, and I had this problem recently, and as it turned out, understanding material oscillations, harmonics, important stuff. Next up is propeller, prop pitch, motor KVs, current draw, thrust and LiPo voltages. You'll have to understand all of that jazz and how they influence each other, and you have to know how to do motor thrust math so you can actually match up the correct powertrain components to get this baby airborne. Because if you get this wrong, you can end up with a drone that flies for about 15 seconds before it either blows up an ESC, smokes a motor, or puffs a LiPo. Puffs a LiPo? Speaking of which, LiPo battery maintenance. How to safely store them and how to charge them. And then there is this thing called internal resistance. Apparently pretty important thing to keep your eye on. Everything about FPV drones is very low tech, and the LiPos are no exceptions. If you mess up the way you charge or store them, you could actually burn your house down. And while we're on the subject, you do know how to safely store these high potential batteries, right? No? No? Okay. But at least you get 30 minutes of flight time then, right? Wrong! More like 2 or 3 minutes, or if you're really pacing yourself, maybe 4 or 5. Then there are the different transmitter protocols, like FreeSky, FlySky, and perhaps even Spectrum. There is also RC interference and how you deal with that. There are different solutions that could help you get better and more reliable range with other more expensive systems like Crossfire or R9. Oh, and again, don't forget setting up failsafes. It's not sexy, it is really important. You'll want to know how analog video transmission signals work, about how your environment impacts your video feed, and what the difference is between a linear and omnidirectional and a patch antenna. No, one is not better than the other. Yes, they all serve a purpose. And of course, then there's antenna polarization. Really annoying, but it matters. And while we're on transmitter signals, you might want to familiarize yourself with local laws about transmitter output power. Figure out how to set up your radio and video transmitter to comply with these regulations. This might also involve looking into ham licensing. Look, that's just the stuff that comes with the flying part. You want to make cool looking videos? Well, then you have to know how to set up your GoPro. Yeah, we fly with GoPros on these drones. Frame rates, shutter speeds, color profiles, what ISO values do you need? I can see you thinking that at this point Ronnie is just rambling off a couple of photography terms. But look at how different these shots look just because I finally understand this stuff. You want steady footage? Okay, are we going with hypersmooth or do we stabilize in post with real steady? Real steady? Okay, is your GoPro supported? No. Okay, so we need a soft mount for that GoPro. Let's 3D print that. We'll talk about 3D printing later, but first let's throw in some ND filters for good measure just to get that extra sexy cinematic effect. As you can tell, if you really want that juicy flight video, you'll need to know about cinematography and perhaps even the basic rules of photography as well. Have you ever heard of the 180-degree shutter rule? I know, right? Simple but effective. Let's say you figured all of that out. How do you mount this GoPro on your drone? Well, you could just glue it on there, but that won't get you the desired effects. You'll get like tons of vibrations and jello, and then it eventually falls off. What you need is a mount that matches your GoPro and your drone's frame. You could in fact buy some of those online, but it's much easier to buy a 3D printer. And in the long run, it's actually less expensive. I told you we'd circle back to 3D printing. 3D printing is easy. You just have to learn how to 3D model, understand basic 3D printing principles, learn about the different printing materials, know about printer bed adhesion, prepare your print in Cura. Cura? Okay. You can in fact download 3D models from Thingiverse, but don't be fooled. That will only rid you of one of the essential skills of 3D printing. Okay, but once you got that down, it's just a matter of doing your thing and nailing those flights, right? Wrong! Again! you'll quickly learn that flying these FPV drones, even after mastering acro mode, comes with a lot of practical challenges. Prop wash, spatial awareness, ground effects, dirty air when chasing cars, and how the drone behaves when flying really fast or really slow in close quarters. And then of course there are certain moves you want to make, you know, tricks. What is a power loop? What is an orbit or a split S? And what the hell is an inverted yaw spin? Okay, truth be told, the last one is probably not something you'll end up doing on a cinematic drone shoot, but believe me, the others, tip of the iceberg. But a cool YouTube video doesn't just edit itself. You'll have to learn how to edit videos, which is short for cutting up your video, picking the best parts, finding music that goes with it, making sure it looks good. And it's way more work than you expect. Oh, I hate this part so much. I mean, you'll have to figure out how to match the video footage with the music. And then of course at some point, you'll want to make sure that you set the mood right with coloring as well. So that will actually require you to know the difference between color correction and color grading. What the hell is a LUT? And I won't even bore you with the added hassle of understanding the YouTube algorithm, because that is just as much a skill as the whole FPV drone jazz together. So what else? Depending on what you want to do, the following terms might ring a bell in your future endeavors as well. Location scouting, and if you ever work with people directing, health and safety is a thing just as much as risk assessment. Then there are the weather reports and the basic knowledge of the laws of thermodynamics, aerodynamics and actual physics like gravity. And if you're not flying digital, multipathing. That's an actual word. And here is a pro tip. You might want to figure out how to cook meth like Walter White in Breaking Bad. FPV is a very expensive hobby and your credit card expense report might get longer at an alarming rate. Why? Why is it so expensive? It's only one drone. You wish. You'll end up with several drones, with many drones. Do you need all of those? Yes. Is that true? Yes. Is that true? No, but that's how things go. Actually, you need all of them. You'll end up crashing these things if you're really pushing yourself, and having spares that are ready to go is vital, especially if you're out on a shoot. And you'll have to learn to manage your time, because you will spend hours and hours on this hobby and you lose track of time real fast. Now, look, if you're really into making movies, flying drones, exploring urban places, tinkering with small electronics and unpacking lots and lots of packages at home, you will love FPV. But if you thought that flying cinematic FPV drone is not all that different from flying a DJI Mavic drone, so you'll just get into it, well, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I did warn you. Look, FPV is complex, but it's a lot of fun. It brings together a lot of different disciplines and it stimulates many different parts of your brain. From innovating, experimenting, tinkering with electronics, to expressing yourself creatively through flying, editing, music. There's just so much fun to be had. There's really just never a dull moment when you're into FPV. If you're not feeling like editing a video, you can tinker with some parts. You can repair a drone or just watch other people's videos on YouTube. Or perhaps go online and help others out by answering questions on Facebook groups. You'll just never be bored again. If you really decide you want to get into FPV, you won't regret it.